What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so this is a question that one of my subscribers had. Shout out to the brother Brendan with the cash app donation, and the question. He asked me, essentially in a nutshell, and look, there's no right or wrong answer to these types of things. This is just opinion. But he asked me what I think would have happened if Phil Jackson had came back to coach the 2012-2013 NBA season for the Los Angeles Lakers. You may recall that Phil Jackson retired after the 2010-2011 season, in which the Lakers, going for a three-peat, were eliminated. I believe they were eliminated in the second round, I think it was, by the Dallas Mavericks in a sweep. And subsequently, they had various coaches afterwards. It was a while ago, but I think they had Mike Brown for a season, and then he got fired early into the 2012-2013 season, replaced by Mike D'Antoni. That was the year where I believe that was the year that they made a trade for Steve Nash, who by that point in time finally was beginning to show his age. I think he had some injury issues. Dwight Howard was just starting to get into the downside of his career at that point in time. I think he squeezed out maybe a couple of more all-star level seasons and he was downhill. Kobe was right at the end of his prime. That was the year that Kobe, trying to put that team on his back, sadly ruptured his Achilles down the stretch in the game against the Warriors, and he was never the same player after that. Never. And that actually, to be honest with you, has brought a lot of resentment to Mike D'Antoni from Kobe fans. I'll get to that point in a minute, but what if Phil Jackson came back? Because I believe they did ask Phil Jackson to come back, but he dragged his feet on that, saying, I got to think about it. I think at that point in time, I think Phil was done, man. I think Phil was done for a multitude of reasons, I should say. And I want you guys to engage in the comment section a little bit more on videos like this. Give me your input. You know what I'm saying? I welcome your opinions on this, as long as you're respectful and as long as it's professional. You gotta be, you know what I'm saying? You gotta be like a suit and bow tie on, but just articulate your thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I think he was burnt out. This is a guy that's been a head coach for the better part of 25 or going on 25 years at that point. He was a head coach of the Bulls from 1989 to 1998. Then, of course, he was the head coach of the Lakers from 1999 to 2004, I think. And then he took a break, then came back, I think, 2007, and then coached to 2011. So at that point, he had over 20 years of coaching experience, just about. And he asked him to come back. And not only that, he had coached on the highest stage, having to deal with some very prima donna personalities that can drive you up the wall, personalities that can wear you down, having to deal with it on a daily basis. Think about it. He had to deal with Michael Jordan. He had to deal with a great player, but an asshole. And he could be a person that could get on your fucking nerves. I'm pretty sure of it. Scottie Pippen with his bullshit. Then you had to deal with Dennis Rodman and his craziness. Horace Grant and his fickleness. Then you go to the Lakers and you have to deal with Shaq and his bullshit. Kobe and his bullshit. The Shaq and Kobe drama and that bullshit. You know, then you have to deal with these other guys. All of them, let's be honest, all of them are spoiled, pampered millionaires for the most part. Then you had to come back to Kobe, and then you had to deal with Metta World Peace and, all these other different guys, man. And not only that, these players' attitudes were changing and not for the better. It was becoming more of a player empowerment league. And, these guys weren't responding to old school coaches like Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson, you got guys saying, I've even read some people say, well, who is Phil Jackson? I mean, he wasn't all that great when he was playing. I wouldn't respect him. So that was changing. The way players would respond to coaches and and coaching, and super sensitive. You had that. Then I just don't think his heart was into it anymore. I think he probably wanted a break. He was pushing 70 at that point, right? 68, I think. So he was 67, 68. He was pushing 70. Then he was having health problems. He had heart surgery back in 2003 to unclear a blocked artery. In 2011, unbeknownst to most people in the media and to us, he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. The doctors assured him at the time that medication could temporarily slow the progression of disease. And privately, he used his prostate cancer diagnosis as motivation to get his troops ready for defending their championship, although ultimately they lost in the second round. But he had prostate cancer surgery in 2013. So, that in itself was probably the reason why he didn't come back to coaching. He was prepping himself for cancer surgery. Then, then you might recall the last few years of Phil Jackson's coaching career, he was always in that chair. Well, that was because he was starting to have problems, back issues. He's a tall, gangly dude, 6'9", with the long arms and all. A lot of times when you're that tall and you play sports, a lot of times what starts happening is, your back and lower extremities start giving out as you get older. Look, I'm not all that tall. I'm 6'2", right? But I'm a big dude, man. I'm a big fucking Volkswagen-shaped motherfucker, right? Football-sized player, too. It killing dude like, man, you fat. You fat. Nigga, I'll squeeze your neck like a fucking pimple. These guys think because I talk a certain type of way, I'm some small guy. But anyway, Phil Jackson started having, as he got older, because when he was younger, he used to prowl the sidelines with his hands in his pockets, right? Prowl the sidelines. He was in his 40s and in his 50s. But when he got older, he was in that chair. He started having back issues. He had hip issues. He had knee issues. I think he had hip and knee surgery. So those things take a toll. So, I just don't know if his heart would have been in coaching as much. I think he was more focused on life outside of basketball. But if he did come back, I don't think it would have made much of a difference. Honestly, they would just win a championship team at that point. Maybe they would have won a few more games, maybe, but it wouldn't have been a championship team. I think the biggest difference would have been how they utilized certain players. They would have utilized Pau Gasol more. If I remember correctly, in that offense, Pau was starting to, because of analytics to a certain extent, the changing role of big men, that offense that was running, the DAntoni offense. I thought I remember when I was watching Lakers, Pau started to become more of a stretch forward. I didn't watch the Lakers that much back then, but I think, some of those other guys weren't being utilized in the same way Phil had utilized them, the old school way. But one thing I am certain of is that if Phil Jackson was the head coach of that team, more than likely, Kobe would not have ruptured his Achilles, because Kobe felt such determination to get that team in the playoffs. So he put that team on his back and played heavy minutes down the stretch. Matter of fact, let me refresh my memory and yours. Oh, yeah, by the way, once again, man, rest in peace to Kobe Bryant and his father. Remember, his father passed away this year, Joe Jellybean Bryant. I think he was 69 years old. Of course, rest in peace to Gianna. But yeah, look, in 2009, 2010, Kobe averaged 38.8 minutes per game, right? But the second championship year, Phil had him down to 33.9 minutes per game. 33.9. 25.3 points per game. But he knew that Kobe was getting older and he played him fewer minutes. But then 2011, 2012, he's up. I think that was the strike shortened year. He's up to 38.5. Then 2012, 2013, the year he tore his Achilles, 38.6. He shouldn't have been playing that many minutes, man. And let me see if I can just go to this season. And let's look at his minutes. And it was that game against the Warriors where he tore his Achilles. April 12th, 2013. He scored 34 points that game. Played 44.5 minutes. The game before that, against Portland, he scored 47. He played all 48 minutes. Game before that, 41 minutes. The game before that, 47 minutes. The game before that, 42 minutes. The game before that, 47 minutes. The game before that, 47 minutes. You see that? That was D'Antoni. Phil would not have had that dude playing that many fucking minutes, man. I mean, he already had probably played over 1,000 games at that point. Matter of fact, let's check something out here. From February 22nd until the game when he ruptured his Achilles, Kobe averaged 29 points a game. 29 points, 6.2 rebounds, 7 assists, 1.4 steals, 46% shooting from the floor, 83% from the line, 33% from downtown, 39.5 minutes per game. And in those last 7 games, in those last 7 games, I'm trying to get this off the screen. In those last 7 games, Kobe averaged 28.9 points, 7.3 rebounds, 8.4 assists, 2.1 steals, 1 block on 45 and playing 45.5 minutes. Yeah, that wouldn't have happened if Phil Jackson was the head coach, man. He would have spread the offense out more. So that's the main difference, I think, man. I just think that Phil was the coach. They still would have been a meh team. Steve Nash was done. Dwight Howard was not a good fit to play with Kobe. The team was older. Time had passed them. Maybe they would have won more games. But I think the main effect would have been, I think Kobe would have played longer. That's what I think. I think his prime would have stretched into maybe 2 more seasons. That's the biggest thing I think would have been different. But other than that, I don't really see much of a big difference, man. I don't think Phil had some magic spell that would have had them win or anything like that. But tell me what you guys think.